days are cooler, nights are warmer, and I put the blame on you. Time moves slow, but my heart beats faster. When these eyes are looking right at you, right at you. You give me something to believe in, just what I needed. You're the closest.
You know, the way in which we talk about ourselves and each other publicly, and people who have microphones, got to be really careful. So Gilbert Arenas and Paul Pierce, they have a popular, I guess they call it a podcast that we get to witness because they also film it. And Paul Pierce, by the way, a grown man who had been stabbed in Boston. I really was somebody that admired him, came back, won a championship in Boston, and lost a job by showing up to work under the influence with strippers and stuff. I mean, it was just, to me, things you do in high school and college that you don't expect people in their 40s to do. But I feel like the bar is so low that we don't demand maturity of people once they get. It used to be, you know, you cross a certain age, as I'm saying, I'm like heading into my elder status, that you should behave a certain kind of way as an example for those that come after you. So these two, you know, because there was a lot of jokes around South Sudan almost beating Team USA. The way I handled it was, that means everybody's catching up, and I love that. But everyone's catching up with us. With us, literally. They're catching up with us, with Africans, whether they're speaking French, whether they're speaking Greek, whether they're speaking another language. So this Olympics is going to be interesting. And that last second victory that they pulled out last week, USA, because of LeBron James, was telling to me. I think this is, it wasn't a fluke. But anyway, Paul Pierce and Gilbert Arenas, I'm going to play kind of a mashup clip. Jonah, play it, please.
Y'all need to see what they look like, though. Man, they probably ain't got nobody over 6'3". Bro, they got basketball teams out there. They even got basketball courts out there anywhere.
Stop.
And now we got South Sudan. No, look, this game we gonna play Langston Galloway, Micah Powder.
Oh, yeah, Micah.
They gonna play Nigel Davis. And we still gonna win by 30. They can put me on the court versus South Sudan right now.
Paul Pierce, I'm really not trying to hear it. How are you gonna talk about the tallest guy on the court is gonna be 6'3", as if the tallest person ever in the NBA was not from Sudan? As if one of the tallest people in
the males almost lost to some Africans. Yeah, we almost lost to them. And the king had to save. The king had to save us. I know the LeBron haters are mad. We almost lost to the Ahi tribe. This is crazy. Man, Embiid over there, goddamn throwing the game. He's throwing the game for his cousins and shit. We're supposed to be losing to air up there.
All right. The level of ignorance, I just feel like in a time such as this, he's basically doing ooga booga stuff, making funny gestures like somebody was blowing through a tube, like, you know, doing that kind of stuff. The EB, like, you don't even know Africa. Like, your dumbass comes from Africa. Like, the reason why you're great at basketball is because of the African DNA that's in your body, you stupid, ignorant, spewing, know-nothing, low vibration people. It's embarrassing. And let me just give you the roster of the South Sudanese team. By the way, Manute Bol's from South Sudan. One of the tallest men in the history of the NBA, Manute Bol, South Sudan. And he probably was in his late 40s when he was playing. Nunin Omat is 6'9". Karman Maluach is 7'1". Bul Kual is 6'7". Kwani is 6'7". Wenyan Gabriel, who we played a clip of him this past week, he's 6'9". JT Thor is 6'9". Mariel Shayak is 6'6". Jackson McCoy is 6'5". Majak Deng, who I believe might be related to Luol Deng, 6'9". Yeah, they're tall. Dummy. He's probably the tallest player, 6'3". Well, that only took a quick Google search for me. This is the Summer Olympic roster for South Sudan. But I want to read a letter that Luol Deng penned. Now, if you don't know who Luol Deng is, I knew him because he played at Duke, and I hated Duke for so long. But yeah, just because I was a North Carolina stan, I was not a Duke. You know, it was Duke versus North Carolina. I was always going to be North Carolina. But Luol Deng is a member of the Dinka tribe, the Dinka ethnic group. When he was young, he and his father, his family, his dad, actually, Aldo Deng, was a member of the Sudanese parliament. He moved the family to Egypt to escape the war there, the Second Sudanese Civil War. Sudan has been embroiled in conflict, and I want to say by outside agitators. I'll say it like that, right? Enslavement. We talked this week about Joe Madison going to South Sudan to buy people's freedom. So to not know anything geopolitically, but also not know anything about your own history. And I'm not saying we're from South Sudan, but the continent of Africa has produced so many things. He met Manute Bol when he was in Egypt, and who's another member of the Dinka ethnic group, and he taught Deng's older brother, Aju Deng, how to play basketball. And you know, as most people do in their families, your brother learns, and then he brings you along. That's how Reggie Miller learned. His sister Cheryl, raised him up. He was educated at St. Mary's RC High School. They ended up going to Brixton, South London, from Egypt, and where they were granted political asylum because, again, his father was literally fleeing for his life. And then they ended up in New Jersey. At some point, he played at Blair Academy in New Jersey, and his senior year, he was considered the second most promising high school senior in America. The number one most promising high school senior, LeBron James. Yes, Luol Deng was named first team All-American in Parade and USA Today, and he was selected to the McDonald's All-American game, but he had a foot injury, and that's why he wasn't as prominent, because he was wrought with injuries. He went to Duke, played there a season, and then Chicago, but at Duke made it to the Final Four. With Duke, he was an NBA All-Rookie First Team when he ended up in the NBA. So he's not a slouch, and I think he's now the coach of the South Sudanese team. So he's not nobody. So for these two low vibration 40-year-old grown men to make fun of Africans, it's frustrating, to say the least. So Luol Deng responded, and he said, "I don't normally pay attention to these types of comments, but as an African, a leader in my community, and the president of the South Sudan Basketball Federation, I feel it is important to respond." So he's not the coach. He's the president of the South Sudan Basketball Federation. He said, "This is for those who have asked about these comments, those who are offended by them, and everyone who has followed our story. I'm not upset or angry at these ignorant remarks made by my former colleagues. I was more disappointed to see them coming from two individuals I've always respected. The comments made by Paul Pierce showed misinformation and a lack of research. However, he used it as a teachable moment to shed positivity once he was informed. Thank you to Paul Pierce for apologizing. That I can respect. Growing up, I heard many similar comments, and those very remarks are some of the things that motivated me to change the narrative. Africans now show solidarity and support for each other more than ever. Moments like this are not for us to get upset and lash out. Many Africans and black people," and he makes the distinction because there is a distinction. There is a distinction. "Who embrace their African heritage are working hard to bring all black people," now he's saying something else, "closer by educating and sharing stories and historic moments, teaching that we have much more in common than differences." And I'm going to pause there because the separation that I'm seeing even in this political cycle about whether Kamala Harris is black and whether it shouldn't matter. You're not electing a black person. You're electing the president of the United States. Can she do the job? Can she put together a good cabinet? Are her policies in alignment with the things you want to get done? Do you have an agenda for her to get it done? Because what I'm hearing is she's asking for that. So while everyone's out there complaining about what people aren't doing, what are you asking for? And let's stop allowing people to divide us, because that's how they were able to get Dinka and the Akan and the Yoruba and all these people in on a ship to sail to Portugal and Brazil and the Dominican Republic and Haiti, Hispaniola and Barbados, and then to the New World, quote unquote, America, because we weren't unified, because we didn't see each other as one. We saw that one as a tribe, and that's a tribe, but the world only saw black. Hence Nigeria, land of the blacks. You even allowed them to name you Niger. Nigeria is all black. So I'm saying something right now, and shout out to Luol Deng for having not just the words, but the compassion and the depth to be able to not just do what I'm doing right now, because I am frustrated by this level of, but I'm more frustrated that people this ignorant have microphones. But this is the norm, not the exception. And I'm saying, this is what I was saying earlier about, Eddie Glaude. It's not about him. It's not about Charlemagne. It's about our appetite. We're going to talk about Tyler Perry tomorrow. Our appetite for things that aren't elevating the conversation, and our allowance. We allow that because we either say nothing or we support it. And I'm saying, let's not do that anymore, because we have choices. So he says, as for Gilbert's comments, they were certainly more disrespectful and cruel. Personally, I don't care much. I would never trade places with anyone. Being African is special. However, for young African and African-American kids who admire and listen to Gilbert, these comments can make you think less of yourself and make the rest of the world think less of Africans. Yes. Those who are easily misled, which is most of the country, that's my side, easily misled may make comments that reflect self-hate more than pride. There's nothing about our history that we should run away from. I actually want to thank both of them for giving us this platform to respond and inform others. We've worked very hard in the last 4 years to be here, and we can't allow mere seconds to take that away. Instead, let's appreciate the moment that these comments appreciate the moment and use these comments as an opportunity to educate. Being loved is always better than being tolerated. You better say that. Being loved is always better than being tolerated. I'm going to say it again. Being loved is always better than being tolerated. If we as people realize the greatness from which we came, we would be less likely to disrespect ourselves. Thank you, Luol Deng. And what he's saying, I want to put a fine underscore. The world is in the Congo, in all of these African nations, not because they're shithole countries, and I'm going to say that because that's what Donald Trump has said, but because they're rich in resources. They met in conference where they divvied up. If you look at the map of Africa, European nations got in a room and decided who was going to get what of this very rich country. First it was the gold, then it was the people, then it was the diamonds, then it was the lobster, then it was the lumber, then it was, because it's endless. It's endless in resources.
My days are cooler, nights are warmer, and I put the blame on you. Time moves slow, but my heart beats faster. When these eyes are looking right at you, right at you. You give me something to believe in, just what I needed. You're the closest.